This episode is brought to you by Ursa Minor Outfitters. Folks, I'm absolutely in love with my loon mug. It's handmade, it's an absolute piece of art. Whether it's at the office or at the house, people keep asking to check it out. If you're not a loon fan, they also have other beautiful mugs for wildlife fans of moose, bears, and eagles. They specialize in products highlighting the outdoors and local pride through quality design by local artists. They've even started expanding into items beyond mugs, like apparel, dog accessories, and soon candles and more. They also try to partner and highlight other small businesses, and in some cases, forego profits in lieu of charitable giving to help their community, such as the dog rescue. So check them out, UrsaMinorOutfitters.com, and enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. And for our four-legged hiking partners, they also have a portable silicone dog bowl and also a sweet over-the-collar dog bandana. Go check them out, UrsaMinorOutfitters.com, and don't forget to enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. Welcome, everyone, to the Hikes and Mikes podcast. I'm your host, Ivan, and together we'll embark on a weekly journey connecting with extraordinary hikers from all corners of the U.S. and beyond. Throughout these summer months, we've had the privilege of conversing with some remarkable individuals. Their experiences and adventures will leave you yearning to hit the trails. We have another great episode for you today. Our first guest from the state of Florida. Her name is Heidi, and you can follow her and her family's adventures on Instagram at heidi.m.sanchez. In this episode, Heidi shares some of her favorite hiking and travel destinations near Florida, including Florida's own magical spring waters. We also hear about her travel and hiking adventures both at our national parks across the country and some bucket list destinations abroad. Without further ado, let's jump into this episode with our guest, Heidi. Welcome, everyone, to the latest episode of the Hikes and Mikes podcast. I'm really excited. We're going to be having our first guest from Florida on the podcast today, and she's going to be sharing about her local trail systems and some of the amazing adventures she's been able to have with her family across the United States and abroad. Heidi, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. We always like to start off the episode by asking the guests to share a little bit about themselves and how they got started hiking.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Heidi Sanchez. Thank you for having me here. I came to Florida when I was 13. Funny note, I would say crossing the border was my longest and first hike ever. uh, but besides that, I do live in Florida with my amazing husband. I have two amazing kids, 11 and 13, or 15 now, who also enjoy hiking.
I've started to find out more and more about the hiking scene there in Florida. I know you guys have some beautiful national parks, but in and around where you live, how would you describe the hiking scene and local trails?
So the trails here in Florida are more like slightly swampy. There are a lot of beautiful places to kayak. There's a lot of water here, so it's mostly kayaking, a lot of palm trees. We don't have elevation like other states, but we do have a lot of trails with other types of things like water and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up water, because the one thing that definitely comes across on Instagram when it comes to Florida is the beautiful springs that you guys have where you can kayak, you can tube, you can paddleboard, even swim. Do you have any favorite springs that you like to visit?
Yeah, so Florida does have a lot of different springs, so it basically depends on what you want to do. There's springs that are mostly better for swimming, like Alexander Springs, Silver Springs. The water's deep, and you basically just go, show up, bring your floaty, dive in with the family. But there's other springs that are good for kayaking, like King's Landing. King's Landing's one of my favorite ones. Literally, when you go in there, it's like an oasis. There's palm trees, green trees everywhere. It doesn't even look real. Like, it's just basically a crystal clear water runway. It's really beautiful. That's one of my personal favorite ones.
And Heidi, you see it on Instagram and on YouTube, but some of those springs are like crystal clear where you can just see to the bottom of them. Is that true like year round where, no matter what season, you'd be able to visit those springs and see that clarity? clarity?
Yeah, that's actually really true. And the thing about the Florida Springs, actually, when you're in the middle of summer, the springs are actually cooler, so it feels good to dive into the water, feel the fresh water because you're hot. But during the fall time, like in November, the spring water actually gets warmer. So you can still swim in the springs during the fall time because you can even see the vapor of the water coming up, like when you're kayaking and stuff. So it's actually really cool because some people may think, oh, you can only go to the springs in summer, only swim in summer because the springs are cold. But during the fall, it kind of changes. So the water actually gets warmer. Yeah. And then you actually see manatees and stuff because the water gets warmer. So that's when all the manatees are basically traveling and you'll swim around manatees and stuff, especially like Silver Springs. It's one of the springs where you can kind of be in the natural habitat of manatees.
And to kind of give people an idea of where these springs are, how far away from like Miami would you have to travel to reach some of these springs?
Okay, so if you're in Miami, most of the springs are like in central Florida, so it's really not that far. You can find beautiful springs like an hour within Orlando. Orlando's one of the main international airports in Florida, so you can go west and see beautiful springs. You can go 1 hour like just north, and from Miami, there's another hour. So it's basically everything's like within an hour, but there's so many that you just won't be disappointed. Florida doesn't really disappoint when it comes to springs and beaches.
No, no,
Yeah.
definitely not.
Yeah.
Do you have any other favorite trails or parks that you like to visit to get out in nature?
So all the springs have their own trails. So there's trails that you can hike around every spring. It's just slightly different from what you expect because you won't have an ending outlook of a mountain or a lake. You mostly would just come across the spring, but you'll see natural life like snakes, gators, things here and there, but it's very different from other states. Yeah, but they all have very pretty trails. We do have the Everglades, which is not too safe to go. Many people don't hike along there. You don't know if you'll make it out, basically.
Yeah, you're not the top of the food chain when you're in the Everglades.
Right. If you go there alone, you make it out a week later, you're lucky.
Now, Heidi, one thing that really came across on your Instagram is you and your family love to travel. You've been to some amazing places. How did the love of travel kind of come about for you?
We started traveling or I would say travel hiking about 5 years ago. Prior to that, I was really focused in school, so I wasn't thinking about traveling. But 5 years ago, my husband and I decided on doing our first hiking trip to Tennessee, which is not even that far from Florida. But it was, I want to say like our 10th year marriage anniversary. It was November. So we went to Rock City, Tennessee. And that's when we kind of fell in love with hiking and traveling. So we saw the changes of leaves. It was first weekend of November. After that first hike, I literally told my husband, I want to do this every year. I want to do this every time I can. So ever since that day on, every time there's like a holiday, like anytime that we know we can just grab and go, we try to plan hiking trips. That's kind of like where it all started 5 years ago or on our anniversary day.
That's one thing I love about the East Coast is that everything is so well connected by the highway and freeway system. It doesn't take a long time to get to other states. And Tennessee is definitely one that I think is still flying under the radar, especially for waterfalls. You've been able to showcase some great trails and hikes in Georgia, too. Do you have any memorable experiences in either Georgia or Tennessee?
So in Tennessee, I did go and I saw like one of my favorite, biggest, tallest waterfalls, which was Fall Creek Falls. That one, I want to say it's about 250 feet tall. So it's on my side, I think it's been like the highest one I've seen, which was pretty cool. Georgia, my kids love going to Georgia. I love going to Georgia. I remember one of their favorite hikes was when we went to Amicalola Falls. So that one was like a 5 mile hike, but they made it so much a big deal because they have so many steps. So you have to go through like over 500 steps to get to the waterfall. And like my favorite and best memory from that was after finishing the hike, the kids being so proud and getting souvenirs, getting the t-shirt that says, I made it, I did the 500 steps. And it was like a proud parent moment because this was like 4 years ago. They were younger. So it was just, it felt good to see them so small and feeling so proud that they did something like good and cool. And that's kind of like how we also started doing more family hikes. Yeah, with Georgia, I would say that I kind of do more family hikes versus the hikes where you can get lost. Because I like both hikes, but I want to say Georgia has the ones where that it's mapped out. So you literally just follow the trail and you're good.
What other favorite destinations do you have along the East Coast?
So along the East Coast, I would say if I had to choose between Tennessee, Georgia, and North Carolina, I would say Georgia has like a lot of waterfalls, which I like, but there's not so much elevation. I'm more like a summit person, so I love going a little bit higher up. Just work for the summit points, right? So North Carolina has been like on my top. And I know one of my favorite destinations is Linville, George Wilderness. And they have this hike called Hawksbill Trail, which is one of my favorite one. I've done this hike like 4 different times. So I went by myself with my husband. We loved it. We went back with the kids. They loved it. And it just looks so different in person than in pictures. So we went back a third time with my brother. Going there a third time with my brother and him telling me like, it's beautiful. This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It just made my day. And that's like a memorable moment for me. Literally, this hike has like a 360 view and it's like unforgettable. We've done it in the summer. We've done it in the fall. We've done it for sunset and it's always different. It's always beautiful, but different. I'm going to go again this fall.
I'm going to have to add it to my list next time I'm over in North Carolina.
You have to do it for sunset.
Sunset is where it's at? Okay.
Yeah, sunset, yep.
Now, Heidi, you've also made it to my neck of the woods here in the Pacific Northwest. You got a chance to visit Washington and some of its memorable sites. How was your trip out here to my state?
Washington was beautiful. It really has been one of my favorite ones too. So when we visited Washington, I did some research, but I didn't dive deep into researching Washington. I just knew I wanted to do nice hikes. So Mount Rainier was one of my top of the list hikes. Unfortunately, there was so much snow. We went in the middle of May, so we couldn't hike all the way up. We actually found a ranger that was like, hey, there's so much snow. I don't think you guys should go up higher. We weren't even wearing snow boots, so we're like, we're from Florida. We listen to you. We're going back. So we went back. But since we couldn't make it to Mount Rainier, I started searching what else can we do. So we found this beautiful hike called Rattlesnake. So we ended up going to Rattlesnake and it was so memorable. It was beautiful. We actually saw a double rainbow out there, like once we made it to the top of the hike. Another thing about Washington, I didn't know it was like the heart of Twilight stuff. So that was something different too. I was like, what? Twilight? I love Twilight. I can't believe we're here. So we did end up going to the first beach, like where they recorded some episodes, and that was really cool. That was really beautiful. I couldn't believe we were there.
And you got to go into Olympic National Park a little bit too, right?
Yeah, that was beautiful too. It's so like amazing how you go to all these different national parks thinking you're going to see something you already saw before and everything is so different. Like just the trees themselves, just the greenery covering the trunks of the trees. Like you just see so many things that you can't even imagine. But once you're there, it's different.
And I'm glad you bring up the national parks because you've had some opportunities to check out some other big national parks across the nation. What are some of your other favorite national park visits that you've done over the last couple of years?
Yeah, Zion has been really one of my favorite ones, but I think that things that you're not thinking that may happen and then they make that your favorite part. My family and I went to Rocky Mountains during Christmas. It was snowing. We went to, I can't remember the name of the lake, but we were hiking at the Rocky Mountains and out of nowhere we see Santa Claus. So we're like, what? Santa on December 25th? And then my younger son was like 9 years old. He thought it was the real Santa. So we had to take pictures. We took pictures and he's like, hey guys, we saw Santa on Christmas Day. So that was like a very memorable, like you just can't beat that. I feel like no matter what, right? But one of my favorite parks has been Rocky Mountains because of that. It was beautiful. The lakes were frozen, but seeing Sienna there was great. The other one was Yellowstone. Yellowstone is such a beautiful national park. There's so much wildlife. Like there's just so much to see. And the good thing about Yellowstone, even like if you're not a hiker or if you're someone that's new into hiking, you don't have to hike a lot. Like you can literally drive around, walk a little, and then you just met with all these beautiful landscapes and stuff. Besides Yellowstone, I know you said you were in Hawaii, so I did visit Haleakala National Park. That was different. That was also beautiful. I think those are like my top ones.
And when you visited Haleakala, Heidi, you got a chance to hike the bamboo forest.
No, we did do this hike called Hawaii or something like that. I can't remember the name of it. Wahi Valley, I think is what it was. That one was actually really cool too, because once you ended like at the end of the hike, you could see the ocean on one side, and then you could see these big, massive green mountains on the other side. That one was actually really cool. It was hard. That one was a tough one, but it was nice.
When you went to Zion, Heidi, did you cross off Angel's Landing off your list?
Yeah, so when we went to Zion, I had to go to Angel's Landing. Angel's Landing was like one of my favorite ones. We actually did Angel's Landing and the Narrows the same day. We personally did Angel's Landing in the morning and then Narrows in the afternoon. And now with the experience, I would do it the other way around. Narrows in the morning when you're hot and it's sunny because the water is very cold. And then just landing later in the evening when it's cooler because it's like a long hike and it does have those switchbacks. So that one was kind of tough. But that's been one of my actual favorite ones too.
You know, outside of the domestic travel destinations here in the U.S., you've also had a chance to travel internationally. What have been some of your favorite international destinations that you've gotten a chance to explore?
So I would say we've been to Italy, which I did love. But I want to say I fell more in love of the non-touristic side of Italy, so more like the hiking part. We did get to visit the Italian Alps, so that one was really cool. We got to do this hike called Lago dei Sopari. That one was really cool. I underestimated the hike. I almost gave up. I actually got chased by cows on the way back. Yeah. I'm such a scary cat. So when someone's like chasing me, I know I should stop and hide, but no, I ran. So the cow that decided to chase me was the one that had the bell. So then all the cows were chasing that cow. So I was being chased by a herd of cows. Meanwhile, my husband's just laughing on the side, like, yeah, you run. I'm good. The hike was beautiful. The lake was one of the most blue water that I've ever seen, but I got chased by cows.
Oh, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one thing. You know, here in the States, we have, like you said, gators, bears, bobcats, but the domestic animals like cows, you wouldn't think. But that is something I've heard about Europe, where like because the trails intersect farmland, it's not just like cows, but you'll come across sheep, and it's like it's their neighborhood. Like you just got to wait for the herd to pass and do their thing. One bucket list destination that you and your husband got to cross off that is, I think, on a lot of people's destinations is Egypt to go see the pyramids. How was that?
Yeah, Egypt was pretty cool. I really, really liked Egypt, but the culture is so different. So I would just recommend for anyone that's planning on going to Egypt to kind of research a little bit about their beliefs, their culture, and things like that, just so that you don't get surprised by things. And I think it's better for you to know. That way, if you don't feel comfortable doing certain things, you can kind of like plan on being in your room or away from public during those times. But it was fun. Egypt was something that I've always wanted to do, so we were really happy to visit the pyramids. We did travel from our hotel to the pyramids on camels, which was like amazing. It's almost like riding a horse, but a little bit different. The only thing I was surprised about Egypt was that the pyramids weren't being as visited as I thought they would be, because now they have all these museums in the main city. So a lot of people are just going to their main city, Cairo, versus going to Giza, or kind of, I want to say they're losing now a lot on people visiting the actual pyramids nowadays. Yeah, there wasn't that many people there. It was more like Cairo. Yeah, but I still like the old school stuff.
Now, Heidi, we like to do a segment here on the podcast where we do a deep dive into our guest Instagram and ask them about a post, a location that captured our attention. And for yours, it was your most recent travel destination to the beautiful state of Montana and Glacier National Park. Can you share a little bit about that trip and some of the memorable experiences?
So I know the most recent one was Glacier National Park. I want to say what made that trip so special for me was that I brought my cousins with me who had never been hiking before. So it was really nice that I was the person to bring them into hiking. They did their very first hike with me, and we did, I think it was called Greenville Glacier. So once we hiked all the way up to Greenville Glacier, we actually got chased by sheep up there. So we're sitting down, we're eating our lunch. We see the sheep that were pretty cool. We took pictures of the sheep. 10 minutes later, they're like walking down our way. We're like, they're not coming for us. They're just eating grass. Next thing you know, they're looking at us. So they were like, we just ran because we started getting chased by them. It was scary at the moment, but it was the thing I remember the most, besides the beautiful lakes and stuff.
And there's still quite a bit of snow when you were there, right?
So when we were there, we had plans on doing other hikes, but half of the Road to the Sun road was closed. So we could only go like halfway through. The one other hike that we did was up Avalanche Lake, and that one was nice too. Yeah, that one had a lot of pretty trees, waterfalls, and then you end up with this beautiful lake.
You know, I'm interested because I've been trying to plan a trip back to Mexico to do not just the beach stuff, but be able to get a hike or two in. For you, having been able to go back and do the touristy vacation spots, what are some of your favorite Mexican destinations?
So for Mexico, there's a place called Suyalita where they have something called Pueblo Mágico, which is really cool because it's like a very lively, colorful Mexican destination where you have music, drinks, all the beautiful colors, and then there's actually nice hikes you can do around there. The last time I went with my brother and we did this hike called Cerro del Mono. So they call it Monkey Mountain. And that one was also fun. And when we did that hike, we came across cows, just random people. It was a really cool hike. I remember my nephew was just born, so we actually had to carry him. And yeah, like he was like 3 months old. And it was my first time taking my brother hiking. So I'm like, no, we're going to do this hike. So I literally carried my like 3 month nephew all the way up the mountain. And it was fun. The people there were so friendly. On the way back down, there was like a guy driving a truck. He said, hey, I'll take you guys back down. So we didn't say no. We're like, yeah, we'll take the ride. But yeah, that was Sayulita, Pueblo Mágico is a really nice destination.
Okay, I'm going to have to add that. ¿Cuál estado está?
Está como, so I'm from Jalisco, so it's Jalisco and Nayarit, so it's right on the borderline of Jalisco and Nayarit. Actually also has cool places, like if you like to drink tequila, they have the tequila place where you can literally go drink, and it's more like cultural, so you'll see the mariachi, they're known for mariachi and tequila. So it's like a fun destination, fun weekend getaway, Jalisco tequila.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I have it saved on my list, but I don't think it's an Airbnb. I think it's like a hotel where you stay in these like makeshift barrels. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You seen them?
Tequila. Yeah, that's where I'm from, and I haven't been there.
Yeah, I saw that like a year or two ago, and I'm like, okay, if I'm going to go experience Tequila Jalisco, that's the way I want to experience it, in those barrels.
Actually, if you're going to go, you need to let me know so that we can all go. We'll meet you there with my brother. It'll be a fun weekend.
Now, these next couple questions, Heidi, are just questions we like to ask all our guests. You mentioned that you love summits. A lot of hikers and backpackers, when they reach their destination, whether it's the summit or maybe their campsite or back to their car, they have a regular customer routine that they sometimes do. You know, for some, it's their favorite snack or drink. For others, it's a moment of zen. And then for another group, it's the favorite meal afterwards. Is there a regular customer routine that you like to do when you reach your destination or when you make it back out?
So yeah, for me, it's kind of like the meal. And I don't want to say drinking, but the drinking, I usually, every time we go hiking, we bring like a couple beers, whether it's just 2 beers or a bottle of wine. And after we're there, we look at the view and we kind of soak everything in.
Yeah, nothing like a summit beer, especially when you work hard to get to it.
Right.
Now, we're officially halfway through 2024, Heidi, as we're recording this. Do you have any hiking and travel goals for the rest of the year?
So for the rest of the year, I would say our next destination within the US would be California. I know my older son wants to go to Sequoia National Park. He's a skateboarder, so he also wants to skateboard around California. My husband wants to go to Joshua Tree, and I want to go to Yosemite. So that's another one that I really want to do. So I would say California would be our next within the US. International, I really want to go to Iceland, so I think Iceland's going to be our next international trip for hiking.
Iceland has been on my list as well.
So we have Jalisco, Tequila, and Iceland.
And Iceland. Yeah, some of those waterfalls in Iceland and the lakes that they have. The hot springs, I should say.
We were actually going to go to Iceland instead of Montana, but because I wanted to bring my friends and everything, we ended up doing Montana, but Iceland would probably be the next bigger trip.
Now, this last portion of the podcast, Heidi, is the this or that questions. I'm going to give you 2 hiking-related topics, and you just choose which one you prefer out of the 2.
Okay.
But the first one is, when it comes to hiking, do you prefer a hike with a steep incline or a steep decline?
I think I prefer the steep decline. I think it's more like unexpected, so you don't really know what's coming next versus like steep incline. You're basically just hardcore all the way.
And this one's a tough one, but waterfalls or summits?
This one is really actually easy for me. I prefer summits. I prefer summits 100% all the way as long as there's lakes. So if there's a summit but it's only mountains, okay. But if there's a summit and you're looking down into a lake, then I prefer that. I do love waterfalls, but I do prefer like summit with lakes.
This next one's about a trail system question. Do you prefer a trail with switchbacks leading all the way up, or would you rather just have it be straight up?
I prefer the switchbacks. I kind of hate them when I'm doing them, but then I love it after I do them. It's like you keep going and then you think, okay, once I get to the end, that's just it. We're going to be good. And then they're like another switchback. But then on the way back, you kind of see everything you did, and it feels like it's more like you accomplished something bigger in a way. It's more like personal, I would say. But switchbacks, definitely.
This next one is, do you prefer using trek poles when you're hiking, or do you prefer being freehand?
Freehand, 100%. So my kids, they use the track poles and they love them, but me, because I'm always on my phone, I'm always recording, I prefer freehand. Yeah, no track poles. I was going to say, I see how they can be useful, and it's kind of like a safety thing too. But for me, just because I love being able to move around, grab on things, pick up things, see a pretty rock, pick it up and look at it.
I've been saying for the last 2 or 3 seasons, $1 million idea for hikers is some sort of contraption where you can put your phone on the top of the trek pole so it holds it in place, and then you can use it as a tripod if you're going to do like a group photo.
You need to make that. Yeah.
$1 million idea if somebody can develop it.
Yeah, that would be dope.
This next one's about your footwear, Heidi. Do you prefer wearing traditional hiking boots, or are you using trail runners?
I like to use the traditional hiking boots because they feel more comfortable. I feel more secure, and it just feels safer for me. My husband does use the trail runners, which are also good, but I still prefer the hiking boots, especially because of the wildlife. Like, I'm so scared of snakes, so I'm like, at least with my hiking boots, I feel safer.
Now, this next one's another trail system question. Do you prefer a loop trail or an out and back trail?
I really prefer the out and back trail. I've done a little bit of both. I want to say I've done more of the out and back, and those have always been my favorite ones. And it's funny because even with my most recent hike at Glacier National Park, you're basically going in and you're looking more like what's in front of you. And then when you're going back, it looks so much different. The whole scene, the lakes, the mountains, everything looks different. when you're going one way versus going the other way. For that reason, I kind of like prefer the in and out trails.
And this one's about your water carrying system. Do you prefer just carrying regular water bottles or a hydration pack like a Camelback?
I prefer the Camelback. I know the having it on your back and being able to just drink anytime you want, it's more comfortable, more accessible, it's easier. I prefer that better. But if you're carrying a lot of stuff in a bag, then maybe the water bottle. But yeah, I do prefer the Camelback.
These next two are the hardest ones, but sunset hikes or sunrise hikes?
That's another easy one for me. So I 100% prefer sunset hike. I feel like sunrises are like a hit or miss. If it's cloudy, you can wake up early in the morning and do this massive hike and not see a pretty sunrise because of the clouds. Versus a sunset hike, even if it's cloudy, rainy, you're still going to see the reds, you're still going to see the blues, you're still going to see a beautiful sunset. And I personally just feel like the colors on the sunset are more radiant than the ones on the sunrise. So sunset with a glass of wine. There we go. Maybe cheese and crackers too. Yeah, do the full charcuterie board. So this next one is about seasons, but do you prefer the spring wildflower season or the fall color season? So as of right now, I do prefer the fall season. I just feel like it's beautiful, but I can't say I 100% prefer that one from the other because I don't think I've hiked enough in the summer or the spring season. So I can't really compare them. But I know as of right now, I do love hiking in the fall season. The next time I'll hike up in North Carolina, it'll be in the fall just because I know how beautiful it looks. That's what I keep hearing. I hear, very much so the Northeast, Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire, they're known for their beautiful fall colors, but I keep hearing two places that come up as alternatives that have beautiful fall colors, and that's North Carolina and Michigan are destinations. Yeah, actually, I'll take that back. I think now that I'm thinking about it, I do prefer the fall season because now I'm remembering all the reds and the browns and the yellows. 100%. Fall season. It's usually the first or second week of October that North Carolina, the Blue Ridge Mountains will turn red, yellow, and brown. Yeah, it's beautiful. Hoping to see them one day. Now the last one, Heidi, is do you prefer long and gradual hikes or do you like short and steep ones? So I guess that one can be both. Personally, I think I prefer the long ones, but if it's going to be worth it, I would do a fast, short hike. But if I was to choose, I would say the long ones. I'd rather go hike, get lost for hours and just be lost for 5+ hours. Yeah, I think the long ones. Well, that was it, Heidi, for the this or that questions. For folks that haven't had a chance to follow you on social media, where are some of the places they can follow you both on social media and online to see some of your incredible adventures that you're having with not just you and your husband, but your family as well? So I only use Instagram. So it's only my Instagram page that I have. Facebook, I really don't post much. So my Instagram is Heidi.m.Sanchez. Besides that, I mostly just put everything there. Well, we'll be sure to put your Instagram handle in the episode show notes so people can follow along on social media and follow your upcoming adventures. Heidi, it's been a pleasure talking to you about your adventures and your travel destinations. You're very inspirational because as a Latina, you've been able to visit some incredible places across the globe, and I think it serves as an inspiration for a lot of young Latinas and Latinos to be able to see their representation out in places like Glacier National Park, Egypt. So thank you so much for sharing your passion for the outdoors and travel, and look forward to what the rest of 2024 has to offer for you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. It was a pleasure sharing my experiences with you guys. And that brings us to the end of this episode alongside Heidi. We extend a heartfelt thanks to them for coming on the podcast. Don't forget to check out the episode show notes for more. We have an incredible lineup of episodes planned throughout the summer months, and we can't wait to share them with you. New episodes will be dropping every Monday with occasional bonus episodes on Fridays. To ensure you never miss out on those thrilling tales, remember to hit that like and subscribe button. Your support means the world to us.
Don't forget to join our vibrant community on Instagram at Hikes and Mics. We'll be sharing episode visuals, my own personal hiking content, and so much more. Let's stay connected and continue to inspire each other on this remarkable journey. As we bid farewell, remember to tread those happy trails, embrace the great outdoors, and keep the spirit of adventure alive. Until next time, my fellow explorers, happy hiking. This episode's music was created by Ketsa. Follow him on Instagram at Ketsa Music. Hey everyone, hope you've all been enjoying the trails this summer. I gotta be honest, leading group hikes is a blast, but capturing all the amazing memories can be a challenge. That's where our new podcast sponsor, the Cameo Journal, comes in. This thing's built for travelers and hikers by fellow adventurers. It's a pocket-sized rugged journal designed for you to collect up to 100 entries from all your trail mates, your life guests, and anyone else you meet along the way. Basically, it can be a guest book for your travels and an awesome keepsake. Logan over at the Cameo Journal is a backpacker himself and put all his love for travel into the design. So if you're looking to level up your hiking adventures, head over to thecameojournal.com to grab one not just for yourself, but for your crew too.